Good evening, Wolfpack Nation. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Tuffy Talk live stream here. You got Greg the Leg here just by himself temporarily. By himself, I've never really talked to myself in the third person. But nonetheless, Leighton Smith will be jumping on here just a few. Hope to have Michael Tracy as well. And then probably about halfway through the show, we should have our buddy Carson jumping in as well. He is just finishing up with softball duties for the technician this evening, so we'll get him on here and probably get his thoughts on the game this evening that the Lady Pack softball team had. Good weekend for the most part for NC State sports. There's some ups and downs. NC State baseball, Pac-9 took 2 of 3 of Louisville, so we'll be covering that here on the show today. Men's tennis didn't have the outcome that they wanted against Wake Forest, dropping 4-2. But what a rowdy crowd that they had over there at the tennis facility. We could hear them over just across the street at Doak at times. Record attendance, it sounds like, for them. In fact, they were told that they had to kind of keep it down a little bit because they were that rowdy, which is always fun to see. But again, they fell a little short. And then we have some football news we'll cover, some portal news that's been going on the last couple of days. And then, of course, basketball. The portal is starting to kind of heat up there for the Pack. We've brought a couple of guys in over the weekend. So we'll cover all of that. But I think we'll start with women's basketball. Last night, the WNBA held their draft, and both Saniya Rivers and Aziaha James both getting drafted the first time that the Wolfpack have had 2 in the first round. And that's exciting for the ladies. Definitely loved to have seen Maddie get in there some late round action. That didn't happen, so I definitely hope that she gets to an invite for a camp for the WNBA. Regardless whether it's the WNBA or somewhere overseas, she will find a home. There's no doubt about that. She's just too good of a player not to be playing professionally. So it was good to see Coach Moore at the draft with the ladies. I know that was probably a very special moment for him, having that happen. And just exciting. That just is kind of the final NC State moment for those 2 ladies. And what a really cool way for them to officially be done with NC State. But though I know they'll be back in the house at Reynolds at some point. But yeah, um, what are people's thoughts on like? I think for me, I just hope that they're both able to make teams. WNBA is just such a tough league to break through, especially for young players. We saw where Alyssa Cunane and Kayla Jones got drafted a couple years ago and didn't even make their squads. Though Cunane is back in the league with a new team out, like a Golden. I think it's the Golden State affiliate. I think it's like the Valkyries or something like that. Valkyries. So hopes she can make a roster. But the WNBA has only got 12 teams and only 12 roster spots for teams, and so you really hope that they can make a squad and break through and contribute to their teams. You had a really good draft class that was drafted before, in the earlier slots. But yeah, I want to see them do well. I want to see them represent the pack at the next level. You always see those hashtags or pack pros, and I would love to see some of those kind of tweets out there for those two ladies. But I know we got Michelle in here, and yeah, absolutely so happy for Rivers and James and Westmore. Just very class people all around from both the players and coach, obviously. And then Chilton says, Wes made me cry when he got teary when Aziaha was talking about him. Yeah, I think to that point, that just goes to show that, and we've talked about it here on the podcast, where Coach Moore coaches hard, but he loves on his players just as much, right? Like he's so appreciative of them and vice versa, and kind of getting the best out of those players. Because if you remember, Aziaha didn't play much as a freshman, and then kind of just didn't really play a lot until some injuries in year 2. And for me, I remember that UNC game at Reynolds where she just broke out, and then you saw some pieces here and there where you're like, okay, she could really be a good player, and then she just goes off against Carolina, and that was kind of her coming out party for the pack, and then it was just kind of the sky's the limit from there. And then Saniya coming in from South Carolina with a lot of expectations, and she won a national title there as a role player at South Carolina, and then to kind of have her own team and take a team to the Final Four, with her going number 8 overall, just says a lot about her, and couldn't be more excited for them. But so I guess I'll probably just pause there, because when we get a couple more folks on here with me, I'm sure they'll want to talk a little bit more, and we'll cover some of those conversations. But I guess we'll talk a little football, because I kind of want to save the baseball talk from when we can actually really have a good conversation, because I can sit here and talk about it, but I would love to hear some of the other guys' thoughts that watched the Pac-9 over the weekend. But so football news, we had a couple of players transfer out. One being a starter in Dakari Collins. He just announced that he will be departing the program. And then we also had Kendrick Raphael. I think he announced Sunday, and Dakari announced yesterday. So they're entering the spring portal. Wish them a lot of luck. But when you see these kind of like fringe starters, Smothers is definitely the RB1, but Kendrick got a lot of play last year, and then Dakari Collins is technically listed as a starter. And so when you see a starter leaving, it kind of makes you just think some things naturally, right? Nothing out there definitively says that he was kind of taken over at his position, but last year we just had such a deep wide receiver room. Obviously KC left, and then now you have Dakari leaving, but then you have some younger guys. You have Noah Rogers. Do you see him drop into the slot now, or will he continue to play on the outside? You have Keenan Jackson. You have Paler, Jonathan Paler. You have just trying to think. You still have Grimes returning. You have I'm drawing a blank on a couple of these younger guys at the moment, but where I'm essentially going with this is you're not going to probably have any kind of drop off at the wide receiver position with this transfer portal move, and my guess would be that some of these younger guys are pushing for a lot more playing time. There's also a true freshman that I'll have to look up here when the other guys jump on. That's turned some heads. Thank you, Michelle Terrell Anderson, another big one. But there's a true freshman that he was even kind of pushing when I saw what I saw of in spring practice a few weeks ago, and then some other people that had gone to some spring practices before me and said he flashed, and so I'll have to do a quick search on his name, but yeah, still a very, very deep room as far as that goes. So I don't think there'll be too much of a hit from Dakari's departure. Definitely will remember him from some key catches that he made. One that jumps to mind is in the Carolina game. And then he had a nice touchdown catch this previous year in the bowl game that stayed on the board initially. So yeah, made some nice plays. Maybe not as much as the impact player that we maybe had hoped coming from Clemson, being a former 4-star player, but solid guy. Solid guy you could put in the rotation and count on him for some big catches, and which he definitely had during his Wolfpack career. Moving over to Kendrick Raphael, this is a guy that flashed early, especially a couple years ago when we had a lot of injuries. He was kind of the workhorse when the year Jordan Houston entered the portal, and then you had Mims, and then there was one other, I just can't remember, but he had a really solid year that year. And then, you brought in Hollywood last year. And again, I think this is another case where potentially you could see that Duke Scott has made a lot of strides, right? And then so maybe he felt that he wasn't going to get as many carries that he would maybe like to have. There's no doubt that Hollywood's going to be, the bell cow for this offense. If you watched any games last year, you could just tell, especially towards the end of the year, he was another level. My guy Leighton is jumping in the chat here or in the actual broadcast. What's going on, Leighton?
Dude, look at that. That thing's crazy now, dude.
So I haven't even talked about the headband for those that are watching or listening. Obviously, if I'm listening, but this is my Ryan Marone appreciation headband, and we'll talk about football in a second. But we were just talking about football and the portal with Raphael and Dakari leaving. What kind of give me your thoughts on those two? I was just talking about Kendrick, so if you want to start with him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like it's like this is obviously like a very extreme like metaphor for it, but I kind of look at losing Raphael, losing Dakari Collins is like Jeff Bezos, giving somebody $100. It's like more, and the fact that like listen, like Kendrick Raphael, very solid running back for sure. I mean, I think that everybody remembers 2 years ago, I think it was against VMI where he had his famous hurdle, picture. Dakari Collins obviously with some big plays himself too. But listen, I mean, between Smothers, and Scott with the running back side, between all the wide receivers we have, like if there's two areas on the football team that we could afford to lose somebody, it's those two spots. So
those are pretty much my thoughts as well.
Yeah, so I mean, you knew Smothers is going to be the bell cow this year. Like
I just literally use that term.
Yeah, so, no, like if honestly, if Smothers isn't the bell cow this season, then somebody's head's rolling. Like it's so simple. Like he was why he didn't touch the ball 30 times in the bowl game. We still don't know. It's going to be a mystery that will.
Yeah, whole third quarter he didn't even touch the ball.
Exactly. Like so. Anywho, So I mean, like transfer portal with that, But I mean, honestly though, man, like it's crazy. Like the fact that like it didn't even hit me that the spring game period had kind of come and gone, and there was no, and like it kind of just hit me like one day, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. There's no NC State spring game this year. Like,
that happened to UVA series. They were wrapped up. So 2 weeks ago that they kind of had their informal private last scrimmage, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. Exactly. But But dude, so like cue it up for me here in 5 seconds. But I have something that really
Oh, you got to grind
really
your
grinds my
gears.
gears.
Okay. Okay.
Around this
Hold
kind
on.
of topic.
Hold on. Let me. I'm not the best production guy, but I got you. So let me do it. Let's go.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I think this past 4 or 5 days is this whole Nico Iamaleava thing. Like if for all college football fans who really love college football, if that doesn't really grind your gears, then
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, listen, like a lot of it grinds my gears about a lot of things, but the fact that there was even a potential of a player sitting out of a playoff
A
game,
holdout.
like a holdout for a
Yeah.
playoff game,
Yeah.
that's when you
insane.
know that's when you know it's gone too far. Like the fact that
Yeah.
that's even a thought in a player's head is like,
Mhm.
okay, we've gone too far. So
Yeah.
so that's my hope, is that eventually we can kind of draw some of this in, because that shouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah.
What needs to happen to make that happen? Like a lot, unfortunately. Like like regulations. Like, I think if it's not the NCAA, somebody else needs to get involved to somehow regulate this to an extent.
Right.
But again, that is a humongous conversation with a bunch of people that have way higher pay grades than I do to figure that out. But something needs to change, no
Yeah.
doubt about it. And I feel for Nico in the slightest, but with the fact that he still is 19 years old, he's
He's an
still
adult.
adult, like
Yep.
and so but also too, I mean, huge hats off to Dan Lanning from Oregon, letting Josh Heppel know that, hey, just so your quarterback called me about coming to Oregon, and so huge hats off to him. And so,
That's
but it's
wild, right?
just
Normally, you heard the other way around with the tampering, but the
exactly,
player, and the
yeah,
weird thing too with that too is it was directly Nico. It wasn't even like a friend of a friend, an
hmm
agent. It was like a direct call, and that's insane.
it is. No, and again, man, like you're the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers, with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, as a very, very, very proud alumni, comes to every single football game. Like,
Different
again,
era.
dude, and that's what I miss about college football, man, so much, is the pageantry about, like, I
Hmm.
want to go to Ohio State, to be a part of, the game. I want to
Hmm.
go to Michigan, to go and slap the flag. Like, I want to go to NC State to play on the same field as Philip Rivers and Mario Williams. Like, that is a that is a complete afterthought now at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I think, to your point, I think we're getting close to something having to be done. And you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have these watershed moments where it's going to be like, okay, when we look back, when things start to change, this is going to be like one of those things that are going to come up with that, because it's insane. Like it's the patients running the asylum at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just, and look, I get it. I'm all for the players able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. That was something that took me a while to come around to. But as I
Mm-hmm.
heard more stories about what these guys could, and ladies, as a matter of fact, like you could give them peanut butter, but you couldn't give them bread, because then that was considered a meal. Like, the stupid things like that just are the
Yeah.
dumbest things. And these athletes going hungry, and not having access to food and whatever. Just dumb,
Mm-hmm.
just absolutely dumb. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I am all for it, but there has to be some kind of, and it's a free market, and we're a capitalist society, and I don't need to give a civics lesson on any of this stuff, but there needs to be something that's binding, right? Because Chilton just came in here and just said that contracts have to happen, and you saw it where Dakari and Kendrick Raphael, bringing it back to NC State, signed with Savage Wolves, which means absolutely nothing. Like, it's not a binding contract. They don't get
Nope.
paid until you make appearances and doing all that. There's no money up front, because again, this isn't pay for play.
Mm-hmm.
But something has to happen, right? And there's kind of like ish salary cap with this revenue sharing now, spending your $20 million. um
Mm-hmm.
it just needs to be figured out on some level. And again, you're not going to level the playing field, and people can spend their $20 million however you want to see it. And you're seeing, some people putting more money into basketball and football and, doing certain percentages to the sports. That's all fine and dandy. But someone needs to figure this out and fast, because who's footing the bill for all this is us fans, right? And we still have to make our donations. We still have to buy our tickets. We still have to do this and that and buy our gear and whatever it is, pay for parking. And it's how much more are you going to tap out of the fans so you can go pay Nico or some other person $3, $4, $5, $6 million, because all it's going to do is keep rising until someone caps it.
Exactly. Well, because it's only a matter of time, because right now, every single time a star player in the NFL gets paid, they become the highest paid quarterback,
right.
The highest paid
they
wide
reset
receiver.
The market at that position.
So that exact same effect exactly. So that same effect you're seeing in the NFL, it's going to happen in college football until finally somebody steps in. And honestly, in my opinion, if nobody else steps in, who is going to step in, and at the detriment of the sport, is the fans.
Right. Well, to the point, I think, and you were starting to make the point from the Oregon coach, Dan Lanning, calling over to Josh Heupel.
Yeah.
Good for Tennessee for not balking at the number, right? Or just bowing down and saying, okay, I know you did all this, but we really, really want you, and we're going to pay your ransom. Because that's essentially what this is at this point, is a ransom. And you hear these stories that, oh, I want 3, but then you hear renegotiations from what I was told, and from a really good source. Back last year, Cam Ward had to get another NIL deal just to play the first half of the bowl game. So you have to talk these guys, and it's been guys so far, but there's going to be a point where there's going to be some women athletics doing these types of things. I can see it happening in women's basketball, but good for Tennessee and good for Coach Heupel to say, you know what, we're drawing a line here. This is the line in the sand. We're not going to pay $5 million to have you come play quarterback. And again, back to the contracts. You should have, if you want to do year-to-year contracts, that's fine.
But make it a contract,
a binding contract where you're locking them in. Because again, they're holding these teams ransom. So now Tennessee, after their spring game, now has to go find a quarterback to run their, and they're a playoff caliber team. So now this whole team, and we know, especially in football, quarterback's the most important position. And now if you don't have a quality quarterback, you may lose a season. And now, what's the ripple effect from other guys leaving? Because, they see the writing on the wall that this team's not going to be very good. Maybe they lose more people.
I mean, again, dude, remember the days where we used to look forward to signing day, getting up at the crack of dawn, 4 a.m. to see, what factors come in. Dude, that I honestly, and obviously that first started to happen when they split to 2 different signing days during the year. But then now with NIL, who cares? If today it was announced that we had a 4-star wide receiver commit to NC State, cool. And it's not because we're not appreciative,
fans.
We're not excited about it for sure. Yeah. But then I'm listen, that doesn't mean squat at this point.
Yeah. Again, to the point, these 2 guys, and again, we're not picking on them, we wish them the best of luck, but it's frustrating from a fan base that you've resecured their services, because people hold, hope and breath and, all of that bated breath for them to say, okay, who's coming back, who's not coming back. And then you're like, okay, cool.
That's another guy who did it.
Yeah. And it's just to your point, look, I'll go to the games, but it just feels different. It's just different.
Again, there's definitely not the relationship and love and appreciation between the players and the fans as there used to be.
Yeah.
And it's not just a little bit. It's significantly changed, and it sucks. It really does, man. Not only do I not know really who was on the roster at this point, and even us as Tuffy Talk guys, some of the biggest State fans out there, I couldn't probably tell you our starting lineup, just because, again, it's just there's been so much change, and there is going to continue to be so much change all the way up until, the end of August. It's going to change so much. So it's just frustrating, but,
Yeah. Michael, what's up, buddy? We're just talking Portal a little bit. We were just talking about are two that just entered the portal, and then Leighton went off on a grinding his gears on Nico and college sports as a whole with these I called it a ransom demand because that's kind of what it feels like, but just kind of give me your thoughts on all these portal things.
Yeah, and then I'd love to finally get back to some positive with the Pac-9 and women's, but yeah, Michael, what's your thoughts, bro?
It's kind of.
Yep, you're good.
Yep, we got you now.
It's kind of turned into like kind of what everybody thought it was going to go. I mean, it didn't happen immediately, but you knew it was going to happen. Eventually, there was going to be guys that just demanded more money. It'll start happening in the middle of the season too, probably.
Yeah, as I was just saying with Cam Ward, he demanded another NIL deal for to play in the bowl game, so it's already starting to happen. Yeah,
and even then, he only played the first half, I think, of their bowl game. Bowl game. He sent off the second half. Yeah, it's. I think it's all just gonna. It was predictable, very very predictable, but it's like the NCAA really had no choice with the when you start getting Supreme Court making rulings and stuff.
Yeah, you didn't know this, Clayton.
I think it'll just sort itself out, eventually.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we're starting to really see it in wrestling, right? Because the portal, and we had this whole big old thing with the NIL, and I don't know how much of this is NIL, Vice, anything else, but Preacher Man and then Michelle were also just kind of mentioning in our chat that Dylan Fishback entered the portal today, a two-time blood wrestler, which means he basically makes it, now correct me if I'm wrong, Leighton, you're better at this, is essentially like the Elite Eight, right?
So basically, yeah. So basically, if you make it to the blood rounds, then basically what that means is that you are one win away from getting All-American. In order to get All-American,
actually like,
you got to finish top 8.
Yeah, it's kind of like Sweet 16, I think.
You're in the Sweet 16 round,
That's
and if you make it to the Elite 8, then you're an All-American.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a really good wrestler for NC State, Dylan Fishback. He's an Ohio native. And Preacher Man, yep. Just kind of put it in here as well in the chat, probably in Ohio State, maybe. But this is the third or fourth guy that we've lost to the portal this year in wrestling that, kind of either was, making some hay or like guys that we thought were going to be pivotal pieces moving forward. And Dylan Fishback was one of those guys that we thought was going to be a key person in the rotation next year for, a team that we think that could compete. But this changes things. And not to say that we don't have other guys we can develop or bring in, but again, just we're starting to see it now. This is the ripple effect, right? The first sports were basketball and football, and then you're starting to see it really in baseball last year or so, and now it's hitting wrestling. And again, it's all NIL based. And how much money are you going to be giving? And with revenue sharing, you can give more scholarships in these sports. And so what is NC State's approach going to be in all of this? And because right now you only have right now they're only doing 11.7 scholarships in baseball. You can move that up to 35 next year potentially. So you're talking roughly 23, 24 new scholarships that you would have to pay for. These universities got to decide where are they going to compete? And you're seeing that with basketball. It's like, okay, it seems like we're putting a lot of eggs in the men's basketball basket. All right, how's that going to affect the other sports? So it's there's a lot to be figuring out here in the next couple of months. So if any of you guys want to kind of just jump in and kind of give me your thoughts on that.
I mean, to be honest, Greg, I'll just leave it at this, and then I'll let you, Michael, kind of add in. And but I really hate where we are with NIL. I'm just gonna be honest. Like after seeing that, like that just because once again, because my problem, Greg, is I'm sitting here saying, well, once again, like okay, like are you gonna ask for more money? Okay, well, like listen, like I'm not an ATM, man. Like I don't like I only have so much I can give, and like it's just like okay, but also too again, it's just like a never ending like balance, but it's not it's not a balance beam with two sides. It's a balance beam with 16 different angles that you tip one, then some will go up, some will go down, and some will go up more than the others, or some will go down more than the others. Like it's a never ending balance beam, man. It is just and like so like every single coach is going to ask for more, and rightfully so. I get it. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. I get it. but it's just like for the fans, like exactly what I was talking about, Greg. Like where's the love? Like where's the loyalty, the dedication, man? Like Fishback. Like, and again, we're making conclusions. I get it for sure. Like, but I'm talking like Fishback's just the most recent name we brought up.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying Fishback. But like, we could talk to anybody else. But it's like, listen, like you were successful here, man. Like, you were successful. Like, you were going to be a part of a team next year that really had a legitimate shot of competing for a top 3 finish, a national title, you name it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and you're working with Pat Popolizio, who's put guys, into the Olympic, rounds, like, and with a guy like Zach Esposito, who's one of probably the greatest associate head coaches in wrestling right now. And again, man, I get it. Yes. Like, for sure. If you go to Ohio State or Penn State, you're going to make more. I get it. But it's just like, again, man, dude, Greg, I really do hate where we are, man. It just
Right.
sucks.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sucks.
But again, like I said earlier, it's a free market. It's a capitalistic society. But at what, and Carson brings it up too. Like if you saw the names that are, being associated, Carolina was kind of one of those names floated out there. Whether if there was if there was smoke with that fire, I have no idea. But it sounds like they're out of the Nico sweepstakes. But the other teams, it's like UCLA, Texas Tech.
Yep.
There was a couple other ones that. Syracuse was mentioned in there.
USC.
USC maybe, yeah, because I think he's a California guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Wow.
they're. I don't know if any of those teams are really going to compete, and I don't think he makes. We kind of talked about it in our chat. I don't think he elevates people. I just don't. If you, I think is like if you put CJ Bailey's numbers out all year, like they weren't too far off of one another. I don't know, like he had a better surrounding cast, and I think that's, I think the players around him made him better, not the other way around. But all right, well, let's move on. You guys want to talk men's basketball before we do a deeper dive into Pac-9? Some of the stuff that they've been doing.
Yeah.
Men's basketball. Yeah. So we just Will Wade is starting to kind of cook, as the young kids like to say. Bringing in a new transfer, and well, first we'll talk the first transfer out of NC State landed a home today. Mike James landing at Vanderbilt. So we'll wish him, ACC NC State legend Mike James. But no, all seriously, hopefully he. Sorry. We could also say about Caitlin Whitmer too, finding a home at UVA. But no, in all seriousness, Trey Holloman coming in from Michigan State, a guy that did some nice things for Michigan State, a team that, what did they make it to? Was it the Elite Eight?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy coming from a winning program.
The guy's effective, in multiple different areas. Like he's exactly the kind of guy that moves the needle finally. Like, the guys like the Copeland, those guys are going to be established role players. But this is a guy that can be a legitimate part of a starting five that I think for State fans you could be excited about. That he's a guy that has experience at the highest level. He's a guy that's productive in terms of shooting the ball, in terms of distributing the ball on the defensive side even as well. So I definitely think finally, like, this is a guy that I can get really excited about. It's like, all right, now I'm starting to see this team really kind of come together here. That's at least my 2 piece on it.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Michael.
I think it's a solid, reliable piece to plug in at point guard. He's only played, his numbers, if you just look at his numbers, are a little bit kind of low. I mean, only 9 points, but he only played 20 minutes a game, 23 minutes a game at Michigan State, because he was, splitting time, I think, with they've got a potential NBA point guard there. So he's kind of,
at least according to all the Michigan State people on Twitter, like coming after us. Yeah.
Yes.
You saw that smoke too.
Oh,
yeah. But I remember watching I think it was actually more I was watching the Big Ten tournament and like watching him play, and like he's got a little bit of an edge to him too. He'll get a little talkative out there, and so yeah, I think I think it's a solid veteran piece. It's not the most exciting, but what you're gonna get with him, right? He's gonna be a solid distributor and at least a threat out there with the ball at point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and then of course there's some rumored names out there that we could be potentially bringing in. I know the kid from Alabama, Reed, is expected to visit in the next couple of days. By all reports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone else tracking any other names out there? I've been so busy with things, I haven't been completely up on it. But does anyone?
Yeah.
I know the kid from Indiana.
Yep.
We're kind of close on.
Yep.
I think those are the two big names right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's going to be more. I mean,
there has to be. We have eight
spots to fill.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think there's definitely a lot of probably other stuff going on in the background.
Again, like there's no doubt with Wade that he's working behind the curtain, and you can see that with, the fact that all of these guys, like, it's not like there was like momentum in terms of from a source, from a knowledge perspective, like, oh, this is coming. Like, it kind of all of a sudden just really picked up steam and then within an hour of it started to get out there, and then it was a done deal. I mean, Trey, like, for example, like, was a part of a visit, and then basically just we were able to get the job done. He committed, we signed, and we moved, and it was announced, like, it was boom.
Yeah.
So same thing here as well, is like, listen, like, it's I have zero concern right now in terms of, with this roster build. I think it takes time. And I think also, too, the fact that I applaud Will Wade, the fact that he's not being quick to the trigger. Like, take the time to find the right guys. Don't just find the first 8 guys you can find. Find guys that fit the system. There's going to be opportunity. There's going to be plenty of options out there. If not now, eventually they will be. Just like you said, Greg, like tomorrow, something could change for a lot of different players and go right back in the portal once again. So,
yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned too is the right players for the system, but also for the budget, right? So it is a twofold thing nowadays, where you can't just go and find talent that matches. You got to make sure that you're constructing a roster within the confines of your budget, and
right.
So that's a really big thing coming up.
And
go ahead.
I think you're going to see some, the two we talked about, Reed and Mbako, but
thank you. Yeah.
I think you'll probably just see some names kind of pop up as committed, just because of, like you said, the number of spots we have to fill, and with it being a new staff, they probably are keeping things tighter, and the people who usually have an inside scoop, it's like it takes time to build those new relationships with those guys, whether that's on the actual staff or in the athletic department. It's a little bit different than when a coach has been in place for multiple years and gotten to know them and stuff. So they're probably closer, keeping that info closer to the vest.
I even saw, again, I just kind of was looking through earlier that we were even looking at a kid from Division II. Don't remember his name, but you got to fill out a roster of, that's a big roster. In most years moving forward, you're not going to have 10, 11 spots that you're going to have to fill out for a roster. The other thing that I want to mention, there's 2 more points. One is a quick point, and then one is probably something we might want to discuss for a couple minutes. And I kind of want to end the show on baseball. Trey Parker enter the portal. So we thought maybe he might stick around. A guy that kind of flashed at times, probably wasn't used enough, if you ask Leighton, until the end of the season, but would have been a nice piece to build around moving forward. And I guess that kind of, if I had to guess, that he saw this new incoming Michigan State guy, and he probably saw the writing on the wall. If I had to see tea leaves.
I don't think it was a coincidence. I think he entered the portal, and then the next day or 2 days later, we got the commitment.
Again, I think any of us here, y'all, anybody watching, any of the coaching staff could watch last year's team and easily go up to every single one of them after the season and say, I really hope and expect that none of you guys are going to be in my starting lineup next year. Now, with a guy like Paul McNeil, He's a guy that will be a role player. He will be a developmental guy in terms of, let's see what we can turn him into. He can, for sure if he develops, squeak there, but like none of those guys last season, and even Trey Parker included, even though he definitely showed flashes for sure, are guys that if they said, and starting at, at guard, Trey Parker, I'd be like, okay, all right, somebody must be hurt, so that's my thing with it, and same thing with Doof as well, is that if he comes back, like, sure, like let's develop him and let's see if we can turn him into anything, but again, just not guys that move the needle for sure. But
agreed.
But I do think we got to give a shout though to Saniya Rivers, Aziaha for sure. I mean,
we did that before you hopped on, but if you want to give a 60-second plug there, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would say is honestly, like it was kind of funny, like it came down to the last pick of the first round when Aziaha got drafted. And like 98% of me was like, oh, please come on, pick Aziaha. Like, that'd be so cool to have two players in the first round. But then part of me, that 2% of me was saying like, man, if I had to leave here tonight saying, man, we just had two players get drafted in the first round and we got knocked out of the Sweet 16 with no ACC championship. I'm like,
oh,
like,
I wanted to stay on the positive of that, but those thoughts are definitely
tough.
there.
I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like seeing all the tweets. It's like two top first round picks. It's like, oh
man, I know. Just
so again, I actually just thought of this. Apples, no, just something different. It's apples and oranges, but we literally had more draft picks last night in the WNBA than Kevin Keats ever had in his tenure at NC State.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
just saying.
I digress. Yeah. Michael, what are your thoughts on the two of them getting? First off, any thoughts on the outfits? Because those were, I don't know.
They're wild.
They're wild, right?
Outfits.
Yeah.
That's what.
Let's leave it at that. They're wild.
Those events are for. They get
more of a fashion show.
Yeah, it literally is. That's a red carpet part. It's cool. Yeah. No, but that's awesome. I mean, like it's great for them.
Yeah.
I think it's even pretty big for Westmore. He can, sell that.
Recruit, right? Recruits. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, listen, like if Westmore's recruiting staff isn't printing up as many copies of, some kind of a graphic showing, we just had two players get drafted in the first round and sing it to every single top recruit, every single top transfer in the country, being like, And also too, because keep in mind too, is like it's not like Aziaha came in as like this highly coveted 5-star recruit. It's not like Saniya came in as like this starting player at South Carolina that was highly loved. And South Carolina decided to come and say like she was a player that was kind of a little bit forgotten on the bench at South Carolina and basically came to state to make an impact. And man, she developed into one of the best players in the country and the number 8 overall draft pick in that WNBA draft. Like, so honestly, to me, it's like Paige, as like Paige Beckers for sure. I mean, Gino's listen, like that guy doesn't need any more recruiting pitch stuff. Like,
that's a factory.
That's a factory. But I mean, obviously, like Paige Beckers was the number 1 overall recruit in her time, and also too, I mean, was throughout her career, as long as she was playing, was considered one of the best players in all of, women's college basketball. But Aziaha and Saniya kind of built up to where they were. A lot of it thanks to Westmore and NC State.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I was saying before you guys jumped on, like Aziaha was barely seen in her freshman year. And then she made the leap, about halfway, 3/4 of the way in her second season. And so to that point, go for it.
Her and Paige Beckers, right, on the same team.
Which I mean, and they said it last night, but like Aziaha and Paige Beckers, which one are you putting your best guard on? Like best of luck to you. So, but because I mean, I was one of those people that when Diamond Johnson transferred out, I was a little bit nervous. I'll be honest and say man, Diamond showed like a lot of elite flash and was insanely impressive. And now we're going to Aziaha, who had one really big game against Carolina. But now I'm sitting here like, hey, great move, Westmore. Bravo to you. Point Westmore. So,
So I want to hop over real quick because I want to make sure we give the Pac-9 enough flowers tonight. But something that just kind of came up today was about the North Carolina Senate. Their budget proposal could increase revenue for NC State athletics to adjust their. But there's a caveat that they have to adjust their basketball schedule. They could potentially be looking at, an infusion of about $11.5 million to start off with, but then that could grow by a good number, depending on how the sports betting plays out for the state of North Carolina. But they do have to play basically all the UNC school system schools, and that's like your UNC, like all the UNC schools, right? UNC Charlotte, UNC Pembroke, Greensboro, Asheville, blah 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 blah, and then it's App State, ECU. So, and then even schools like Central, they have to play within the next like 15 years or so. Just give me your thoughts on, like, are you, for that money, are you okay working them into your schedule? I think it's a no-brainer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're not talking a couple million. You're talking, I think the number was 30 million in the next couple of years.
Yep.
Like that would double our revenue, like our ACC network revenue.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, especially too, because again, like, listen, if we put any of those guys on our calendar, the problem with putting them on our schedule was the fact that we weren't ever, like, it was a lose-lose situation.
Right.
Like
there was nothing to gain.
If we won, like, you're supposed to win. If you lost, then holy crap, we're going to let you not forget about it for the next 15 years. Like, but now, like, now you go into it saying, all right, take care of business, win that football game against whichever of those opponents you pick, and we walk out there with millions of extra dollars that that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So
well, even if you lose, you still walk out with the millions of dollars.
Well,
so
but if we lose, then I would say I don't care. Don't lose that game. Do not lose to UNC Charlotte. Do not lose to ECU. Do not lose to App State. Don't do it.
Here's the beauty of this, and in my opinion, where I see this works out perfectly. This is the majority of these teams. That's your heritage game over at Reynolds.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes too much sense to play some of these smaller schools.
Just men's basketball? I didn't read totally.
I believe it was just men's basketball. Yeah. I don't. Okay. And this also applies to Carolina too. It's not just NC State, but I'm just using it from the NC State perspective. But
I didn't know if it was like every sport, like football. I had to schedule.
No. Just basketball. Just basketball. Right, because that was what was on the table, was they wanted more of those types of games. From what I understand, it was just basketball. I could be wrong. Carson, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was covering softball just now, so now I'm here. The losing streak's over.
I know, right? It was at 10, right? 10 or 11? What was it?
11.
11. Ooh. Yeah. And then who did we play tonight?
Longwood. It was a doubleheader.
I know, Leighton.
We lost the first game, and then we won the second 7-0.
Okay, so that's how we got to 11 then. Got it. All right. Well, good. So Michelle, I don't believe women's basketball was included in this. From what I understand, it's just men's basketball. But
I think it's just men's.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I can't remember the last time we played ECU or Charlotte in men's. So
yeah.
If it's just men's basketball now, like that's even different than football. Like, if you lose to one of them in football, that kind of tanks your season. Like basketball, even if you lose to them, it's still one game out of whatever 32. It's not good, but it's not as damaging as like losing a football game to those guys.
So according to this article, you have to play them in 3 regular season or exhibition games. So hell, you can even just do an exhibition with them. Like that's even easier. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. This is easy money. You take the money and run, and then go
especially
do good things with
exhibition.
it. Yeah.
100%.
Only 3. I mean, there is a point where it's too much because non-conference slate is going to be not very flexible.
You still got to play some good teams.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can use one of your exhibition games as that, so it's a big win.
Yeah, it's too easy.
But again, I like.
Oh, hold on. Let me reread this. Hold on. My apologies. It says, if passed, NC State and UNC would be required to play each Division II school in the UNC system and 3 regular season or exhibition games by 2039-40 season. Those schools are Elizabeth State, Fayetteville State, UNC Pembroke, yada, yada, yada. So basically the HBCUs.
Yeah.
And additionally, we would be required to play each Division I school in the UNC system 2 regular season games by 2039.
Okay.
Oh, so that's
Yeah,
not even every
cool.
season. That's
No,
No.
you just have to.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's one
One a year.
every other year.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially.
I don't know how to.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So
I mean,
again,
sure, okay.
super
That's
easy.
nothing. Yeah,
Super easy.
basically nothing.
Yeah, I don't care. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, the big one was the football. And I think that was probably going to be where the sticking point was going to be, to your
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
Michael. Like there just
Correct.
wasn't an incentive because the ACC was like, no, we don't want you playing these crappy schools.
Yeah, like having to play App State or ECU every year. Yeah, that would be tough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Any last
But-
thoughts on this before we move over to baseball?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, listen, like I'm surprised, like, and that's why I brought up, because obviously I wasn't sure if you had brought up Saniya and Aziaha to start, but I figured, while it was just you'd be talking 100% baseball that entire
No.
time you could. So
No, I know. I want to talk it with you guys.
hey,
So again, I would just be spewing out random stuff. I'd like to have a discussion about it, but yeah. So we'll jump over to the Pac-9. Go ahead.
first thing I'll say, like, dude, that rubber match was one of the weirdest games
Mhm.
that I've ever seen, man, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a team collapse like that, and I mean in fair conditions. Like I've seen it, like when it's pouring down, raining, and just
Yeah.
craps in the fan. But there's a legitimate reason for it.
Yeah.
But like for the game to literally end on like the 5th wild pitch or pass ball
Yeah.
of like the
Mhm.
inning,
Crazy.
like I was like if that wasn't like the perfect summary of that entire game, I don't know what was. I mean, it's like in my opinion, Greg, and you tell me if you disagree. Like
Mhm.
I don't necessarily say like from a batting perspective, like we played the most phenomenal game, but I would say just Louisville. I mean, I think they had 3-4 errors, and then also had probably 5 or 6 wild pitches, pass balls on top of it, at the very least. Like it just was a kind of it was a rough game.
And
for
they also
Louisville.
had 13 walks. Like they gave 13 walks to us. So yeah, before we'll I just want to say this one piece, and then we'll jump in starting from game 1 and go through it. But when they brought in like the 3rd or 4th pitcher of the 7th inning, and we kind of were like working towards bases loaded, I looked at Ryan Marone's mom and I said, just so you know, we're gonna win on a wild pitch. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's gonna happen, because they'd already been building up. And then she looked at me like,
crazy.
Wow.
What just happened? We just won. And I was like, I just had a feeling, because it was just, to your point, it was just weird. Like the whole day was just
weird game.
like their pitchers. And look, that's a good hitting team. Louisville is a really good hitting team. Their pitching is not as good as their hitting, for sure. If they had our pitching staff and their hitters, that would be a College World Series team for sure. But yeah, so we'll get into it. Starting from game 1, State did take 2 of 3 from Louisville. That was what we needed to do. Huge top 15 series win. Louisville was sitting around 14-15, depending on the polls you subscribe to. Again, weird game. We scored 13 runs off of 11 hits, no home runs.
Why aren't we ranked?
We'll get there. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So you had just a weird game where Louisville gets up 1-0. Dom Fritton was the pitcher on Friday night, and I tell you, like, Louisville walked, like I said earlier, walked 13 in game 3. They also walked 13 in game. Oh, sorry, no, I lied. They walked 16 in game 1, 13 in game 3, and we only walked 3, thank God. But we only walked 3. And it's weird because we both scored so many runs. We were getting ours via walk. They were hitting because our pitchers were actually hitting the zone. And but that umpire was just horrible. The track man was just like he was getting destroyed. Like Robo Ump would have fired that guy in about 30 seconds. He was just so bad. And Dom was getting squeezed, which sucks, So the numbers, Dom's going to take those on the chin, but he really pitched well, with all things being said. But it was a roller coaster game. Louisville got up 1-0, and then we ended up scoring 1-1, and then we were down 6-1. And at that point, my wife texted me. She was at the hotel getting the tailgate. She goes, "You're not happy, are you?" I'm like, "No," but there was plenty of time. I'm not even kidding. We turned the rally caps around in our section in the 4th inning, and we scored 7 runs. And I looked at Jacob Duden's mom. I said, "Rally caps," because she called it Sunday. She did rally caps Sunday when we came back and hit the grand slam to win. Or I'm sorry, hit the grand slam and hit the walk-off 3-run to win. And she's like, "It's too early." I'm like, "It's never too early when you're down."
Not when you're down that much. Yeah.
And she played along, and we scored seven innings. So I like to think between her and I, we were the catalyst that got the game going. And then her son basically shut it down. The last 4 innings, he was back, old school. Yeah, he was 2024 Jacob Duden. Again, Sosa had a great game with 3 hits with 3 doubles. And then 3 walks. So it was nice to see him bounce back. But I kind of wanted, pause there and kind of give me your guys' thoughts on game 1.
Carson, do you have any big thoughts from it?
Yeah, just very back and forth game.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting was pretty good. I mean, yeah, we scored a good amount of runs.
Yep.
But I mean, just very competitive game in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, game 3, in my opinion, definitely obviously looking back at it now, game 1 really was the rubber match for the series like that. Right.
Yeah, so you had
we should know at the time.
Yeah, in game 1, you again, Dom only lasted 2 2/3, but he threw 84 pitches in 2 2/3. Like, he had one guy he hit, he pitched. It was like a 15 pitch at bat. I mean, it was just a battle. But then you had Willetton come in, kind of do some Willetton things. It was good to see him pitch on a Friday. Having him been our Friday starter for a couple of years. Right after we got that lead, I thought they left Willetton in too long. I would have maybe liked for him to just do his 1 inning and then been done with it, but they stuck with them. And then Wimbish came in and did a nice job. And then, like I said, Jacob Duden just came in and just absolutely shut the door. He gave up 1 hit that shouldn't have even happened, if you ask me. Luke Nixon tried to make a long catch and just couldn't quite come up with it, and the guy ends up hitting a base hit right like 2 pitches afterwards. But other than that, he was spotless and didn't walk anybody. 4 strikeouts. The slider was just working like it worked before. Just so good to see him come back and do his thing. But that was game 1, and then game 2, the wheels fell off. It was.
So game 3.
Well, some of the things I kind of want to just mention about game 2, just some observations, and we won't spend a lot of time on it. Louisville hit 6 home runs, and 1 I think is still orbiting space. The guy that hit the pines and right, that thing was. I'm surprised it didn't knock a tree down. It was hit so hard. I mean, it got out. 25 runs that were scored in that game is the most ever in the Elliott Avent era. So that's the most runs State's given up in 29 years. So that's just something to talk about, but not really want to talk too much about. We had 5 errors. I mean, we didn't come ready to play on Saturday. It just looked flat from the beginning. That was the most in 3 years. The one thing that I will talk about, Jacob Deniz, like, he pitched in the 7th, but he relieved Jackson Lucas. And then Jackson or Lucas relieved Deniz, which was an interesting one, right? So they put Jackson Lucas at second, and so that was kind of a
then came back in the pitch.
Yeah, which makes sense. It was lefty righty matchup, but it kind of just reminded me of like a major league game that gets out of hand, and you see a position player pitching, right? They just kind of reminded me of that. And
just get out of the game.
Just get out of the game. Yeah. Really, there wasn't. I mean, we did score 8 runs. But it just felt like, garbage time. We had a late 3-run home run.
Mhm.
They scored so many runs in the second game, you couldn't even read the numbers on the scoreboard because it doesn't fit 25. Like it's just because of the way the numbers are.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God that was only a 7-inning game because they might have dropped 30 on us.
Right. That
Well,
would've been bad.
and that's the funny thing too is I like this has definitely been a season that I think when the season's all said and done,
Mhm.
I think the headline is going to be the difference that said the 7-inning rule has made in good ways and bad ways.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
there's like
Who knows?
I would love to see the stats of how many games like in all of college baseball, like the percentage of games that went less than 9 innings
Yep.
due to run rule. Like
Yep.
it's got to be a good majority. It's got to be a lot of games
Yep.
in all of college baseball that have gone 7 innings or 8 innings.
Yeah, going into the 7th, it was 25-5. I have never seen a score that lopsided. We ended up
That's
hitting a
bad.
3-run home run in the 7th to almost get to double digits, but not so much. But again, it just some of the frustrations, like that was Heath Andrews' worst outing. Just Cooper
by far.
Consiglio, just not quite Cooper Consiglio. He's definitely reminding me of Cooper early season last year, not post Clemson. So hoping that he can kind of come around and recapture some of that magic. We haven't seen Derek Smith really at all this year.
D-Rock.
I hear some things, but I don't know what's true and what's not, and so I don't really want to share that. But it's frustrating for him. I know he's frustrated. He's ready to get back and try to make an impact, but just not happening.
Okay.
But let's talk game 3 because though it was
Game 3.
lopsided, and I want to give. Obviously, I'm wearing my Brian Marone officially licensed headband. His stats don't bear like what he's thrown in the non-conference, but to me, that was his best outing of the year by far. I find it hard to not say that.
Through the season so far, team MVP.
I don't know.
there?
Like, I mean, he's definitely, Fritton, again, the problem with baseball, if you take raw, like basic numbers, they don't always bear out. It's where you need to get into the analytical numbers sometimes to really see like the effectiveness of them. But yeah, Ryan's definitely had some moments where he's like, okay, like this is like what we want, especially on a Sunday starter. And I think that's where we do a lot better than a lot of teams. Is like he's probably one of the better third day starters that you've seen. Before I go much further, everyone's talking about Luke Nixon's catch. Made the top 10. It was came in at number 7 the other day. What a catch! Like if you saw it, like he actually did a acrobatic somersault off of his neck. Like it wasn't even like the rest of his body. Crazy catch. I mean, he went a long way because they were shifting, and what a defensive gem that was. But yeah, Marone threw 6 2/3. He threw 106 pitches, and that he threw 30 in the first inning. So that was like, for him to work himself out of the jam was great. Like he gave up the 1 run, and then he got bases loaded and worked out of it. And then again, I think he had one more where he got a little bit of a jam. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th inning where he had bases loaded again, but worked out of it. He only again, like I said, from some of the stats, he only struck out 4. But again, that's a really good Louisville team. I think they only have 1 batter under 300. So they're a very talented offensive team, and the fact that he came and did that after the team gave up 25 runs the day before, right? So that was just, I think, in those terms, when you break it down, to me, that's the most important factor is that not only did Marone show up on Sunday, the rest of the team showed up with him. But I will pause there if anyone wants to jump in. Carson, I know you're looking at some stuff. You got anything for it?
I just looked at the last time we lost a home series, and it was 2 years ago against Clemson.
Yep.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That's a stat.
Yeah.
That's a stat.
Been really good at Doak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The team's just like it's just a classic Avent team,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's even before the portal, but more. I think we've seen it more with the portal that it just starts slow sometimes to figure out roles.
Yep.
Figure out the bullpen. And
it's always been the opposite. Remember, like UNC has always been typically comes out really hot, but then slows down. NC State's always been slow to start, but then picks up later. Like it is literally almost scary how like consistent that has been forever.
And the rest of the schedule is pretty favorable. You've got the Clemson and UNC series.
Yeah.
But other than that, you've got Cal, Stanford, and Miami, I think.
Yep.
A couple away series there.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if you can, you're 4-1 halfway through an ACC series, like, if you can finish 3-2 and get to 7 ACC series wins, that probably gives you 17, 18 ACC wins. Like, you're probably looking at hosting again.
Oh,
and I think it definitely didn't look like that early in the season. But they just always come around.
But that can't happen, Michael, if we don't get ranked in the top 25.
Well, so let me finish with Sunday real quick, and then we'll break some of this other stuff down that you guys talked about. Again, Justin DeCrisio, dude's a stud.
I love DeCrisio.
He went 4 for 5 with another home run. That gives him 7 for the year. Does anyone know what his career home run numbers were before he came to NC State?
I think he had what?
Oh, don't hype up Chris Hart more, Greg. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
He had 6 career home runs coming into the season, and he's already got 7. Right?
Crazy.
Yeah, just what Chris Hart does, like you said, Leighton. Just he's a guy that just they go find guys. Like, this guy came from San Diego. Like that's so like impressive, and that they've just made him a better player. Last year with Buttersworth, you got solid offensive production from him. We just find guys, and DeCrisio is definitely getting more opportunity because he's moved up in the lineup. Now he's batting cleanup, and he's just been so good. That, again, we were talking about, someone just mentioned the shuffling of the lineups, and you've seen that, dropping Sosa down, dropped him down a little bit. Now you got rewarded with the game from Friday, and you got Luke Nixon dropping down a few, and just moving guys around just to find that rhythm for this team.
Mm-hmm.
We averaged almost 11 runs a game, and we only hit 3 home runs the whole weekend.
Wow.
Like, again, this isn't a team that's going to hit a lot of home runs. They're going to work their way, find ways on base. Louisville, 3 errors, right? 13 walks, 16 walks. This team has a really good eye when it comes to that, and Ty Head is leading the way with that. I mean, I think he's got 35 walks. If someone wants to check me on that, 36 walks. It's just a ridiculous number, and so they've moved him up to the top of the lineup, and he's just finding ways to get on. Go ahead, Leighton. Like you had something you want to say.
Who was it? The Rogers, the D1 baseball
Kendall
guy?
Rogers.
Kendall Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he talked about it last week. Like, watch out for NC State.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like, but now I'm telling you, man. Like, right now, in my opinion, we're probably the most under the radar college baseball team right now. Like nobody's really talking about us, but like we're figuring a lot out. And especially if you figure if we continue to figure out even more what we have on the base on the batting side, and we continue to see consistent production from a super talented, elite talented bullpen, like again, man, like we can compete with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We can really compete with anybody right now.
Agreed. Again, small ball. That's we were talked about when we did kind of our baseball preview. It was like where were the runs going to come from, and we talked about small ball. And you have Matt Havner leading the nation in sacrifices. I think he's at 13 for the year, and again, because they've moved the lineup up and down, you're seeing guys getting on base in front of him, so then he can move them along, and then you go right back to the top of the order, and guys are producing from that spot, and it's working right now, and again, very patient team. They, you see guys battling in counts. They might get down 1-2, 2-2, 3-2. Like, they'll just work. I think Alex had probably a 10 or 12 pitch at bat on Sunday. They grind at bats, And when you do that, you're running pitch counts up for the other team. And so then you get to their bullpen, and then you see a 5 wild pitch inning because they're like on their 9th guy for the weekend on a Sunday. These
But
things
again,
just they matter.
The thing I love about the most, Greg, is that form of baseball is a very mature style
Yeah.
of baseball. Like
Yeah.
like that is not talent. That is mentality. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not normal. But like for a team like this, I love to see it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Agreed. So Michael kind of just talked about it a little bit with we're sitting at 9-6, tied for 5th, but we have the tiebreaker over Louisville with the head-to-head series coming up this weekend at Cal. The boys fly out at 4:00 in the morning tomorrow, which is insane.
Wait, they fly out at 4:00 in the morning?
Yeah. So they load up the buses and head to the airport because baby, they fly commercial. They ain't no charters for baseball. So they'll get out there tomorrow and then have the series starting. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Starts at 9:00 on 9:00 both Thursday, Friday, and I think it's a 10:00 in the morning game on Sunday or Saturday. If someone wants to check me on that, I don't remember what I saw. But a little bit about Cal before we kind of talk like future series. Cal is like one of the worst teams in the ACC, sitting at 17-18 overall, 6-12 in the league. But the great neutralizer is us traveling out to Cal. So how does that time zone that change? If you're going to do it, this is a good team to do it against, obviously. So I do like our chances in this series. They've lost 2 of 3 series against Duke, UVA, and Louisville, who we've all played. We lost 2 of 3 to Duke, took 2 of 3 from both UVA and Louisville. So just some common opponents there. And then they've been swept by Stanford, Clemson, and Georgia Tech. Clemson and Georgia Tech at the top of the conference, and then Stanford about the same as Cal. So do with all that what you want. Go ahead. What you got, Michael?
Thursday, Friday are 9 p.m. games.
Yeah.
East Coast.
Yep.
And then Saturday is 5 p.m.
5 p.m. East Coast? Oh, dang. So they're taking a red eye back. I thought it was like a 10 o'clock. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. But they'll be home for Easter. That was kind of like the good thing.
A sweep out there would be huge. It's probably one of the better opportunities we have this season.
Agreed. We really probably only have 2 more sweep opportunities, and that's Cal and Stanford. We have right after, and it's a tough week. Like we come back. There's obviously no midweek this week because they're flying out, but we get back from Cal on Sunday morning or late Saturday night, Sunday morning. And then you got ECU on Tuesday, and then you got Clemson coming to town. So it doesn't get – the travel is going to, it's going to be a tough week. And then once you have Clemson, you go to Miami. I'll be down there for that series, so looking forward to that. And then we're back home. Then we're at Carolina. So we have two road weekends a row, and then we end up with Stanford. So you'd like to go get maybe 2 sweeps against the California teams, win at least 1 of 2 against Clemson, and then go take a Carolina series. And that, like you said, Michael, that gets you that number that you're looking for, about 17, 18, 19 wins. Try to get to a double bye. So you got to be top 4. So the baseball
format, right?
Yep. The baseball tournament looks just like the basketball tournament, where they have the buys, single elimination now. So there's no pools. So you want to get to that Thursday series or Thursday game.
Bigger in baseball than in basketball. Just because
I agree.
Pitching.
I agree. Yeah. If you're starting on a Tuesday or even a Wednesday, it's very tough. But
if you get a double bye, you play what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Thursday for the championship game is on Sunday.
So maybe it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, something like that. I have to look at it again.
But but the point is, if you get a double bye, at that point you're just playing like a normal weekend series and can kind of manage your rotation normally. Whereas if you have to start Wednesday, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's there's a lot to still play for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's you would play so all right. What it happens is for the quarterfinals, I see what it is now. It's Thursday, Friday for the quarterfinals. So if you play Thursday, you don't play Friday, then you play Saturday,
Oh, right,
Sunday,
right.
and then if you
Okay.
play Friday, you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's how it works.
Yeah.
I know there was
Okay.
a something weird in there, but yeah, it is only a 3-game thing. So we'll wrap on the baseball not being in the top 25, Leighton, as you so alluded to a few minutes ago. So I think there's a couple of things, and someone put it in the chat, like you lose 25-8, right? And here's the thing: D1 is the baseball authoritative source for rankings. They were at state this weekend. They got guys that are local, and they were there, and so they saw it in their eyes. And I think to them, you just can't go lose that game, right? You can't go lose to upstate like that. And again, midweek shouldn't matter as much, but for whatever reason, they just, winning 4 out of 5 ACC series isn't moving the needle for them for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't think they're giving the ACC. I think the ACC is not as glorious as it was even in baseball now. It's all about the SEC. But again, I don't put too much stock in that. As long as the committee is doing the eye test, I'm okay with it. But if you start winning these other series, like you still have Clemson and Carolina coming up on your schedule, both top 10, 15 programs. If you go take those series, they're going to move you up into this. And then if you go handle the business against the other 3 series, you're going to find your way. And at the end of the day, you just want to be in the conversation for hosting a regional. I think that's really the biggest thing when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
go ahead. Again, my grab was more of like in every other college sport out there, the guys the teams, the programs that are consistently at the top, and then like for a team like us that started the season ranked in the upper part of the top 25, like they always are excited for a reason to get those teams back in, as long as they are given a reason to do so. And right now, yes, I get it. You had the one game, but it's baseball. Like those games are gonna happen. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, pitching, guys like Marone, Dom Fritton, Jacob Dudan are figuring things out, and on top of other pieces as well. The hitting is coming along. DeCrisio is hitting, out of his mind right now. We're playing great small ball right now. Again, just like you said, averaged 11 runs a game, period. So, you can't tell me this isn't one of the top 25 teams in the country right now. You can't tell me that just by looking at the team, just as a whole. But again, I get it. Yes, you can't lose the SC Upstate. I get it, 100%. So, but also, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's hey, listen, if we're going to make the best case possible about hosting, we need to start getting some of the respect that we earned when we earn it. Because I mean, to expect that we're going to have an unblemished record the rest of the season is not possible. It's something's going to happen. So it's just hey, listen, when we're pushing, let us push. But if we fall, I get it. So that's kind of my point.
And then you have the other thing, like we didn't talk about going out to Greenville last week and beating ECU in there, and that's usually a top 25 program, and they're very down this year, and so you get really no credit for winning that game, and it doesn't move the needle for that's not a top 25 win, which in past years that would be a top 25 win. So some of those things are working against us, and then I have the ultimate conspiracy theory, which is the dumbest thing, but I'm just making a joke about this when I say it. We went down to Jacksonville and played in a D1 baseball tournament, and we crapped the bed. And you don't think they don't hold that against us?
Yeah. I think that impression was not great.
It's not a good impression. It's not a good impression, even though it was early in the season.
It's mainly early, but yes.
Yeah, but just go win ball games. Go win ball games. It'll all work itself out. That's kind of always my thought on rankings and polls. It's just the more you win, give them a reason not to put you in, and then again, we've given them a few reasons not to. I think we're fringe. We're probably sitting 26, 27, 28, somewhere in that neighborhood.
You got to.
We have to be right around there. They like putting in smaller programs too. Like you see Southern Miss in there. There's some teams that you're okay, but they're not playing
Dallas Baptist.
Yeah. Well, Dallas Baptist is actually a pretty legit baseball school, but yes, to your point. Yeah, but they like putting. I mean, they have Coastal in there right now, which I can't really argue because they took us to the woodshed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to argue that. But again, just go win series. You know, now we're starting to play some ACC. We've only played one ACC road series, so we're going to start playing some ACC road series. Go get some wins. That'll help your RPI winning these games on the road. You know, these things will start to, you know, the back half of the schedule will work itself out for potential rankings. So, all right. Anyone have anything that we maybe missed? I know, Carson, if you want to give me like a minute on the men's tennis, I think you were there on Saturday. I kind of just mentioned it. A great showing from fan perspective, and I know we fell a little short, losing 4-2 to Wake Forest. But kind of, if you want to just give me, you know, a quick blurb on that.
Yeah, I wasn't at the game. I was at
I
was at the beach on Saturday, but I did read a lot about it. I think it was the highest fan showing for any tennis event at Stays. That was really cool.
Yep,
that was cool.
Yeah,
took them
really
down.
cool.
Took them down to the wire. I mean, not much to hang our heads on for that. I mean, Wake's #1 team in the country. We can get them in the ACC championship.
Yep. Yeah. No. And I mean, listen, like it's like we were competitive the whole way, just like Carson was saying. And at the end of the day, like for this men's tennis program, like the fact that we have because that's thinking like we weren't competitive because it was a fluke. We were competitive because we truly are actually competitive with the #1 team in the country, period. And that means if we play them 10 times, like we might win 3 or 4, you know, like, you know, so just huge hats off again to the entire coaching staff, to the players. Like, again, like this is not like the high point. This is only the beginning.
Agreed. Michael, do you have anything from men's tennis?
No, it's just really cool to you know, see us another sport just keep on winning at.
Yep.
You know,
agreed.
Competing with the best.
Agreed.
I did see though. It was kind of funny to see the umpires get angry at the fans for cheering.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We were told to simmer down. Yeah, it was good because college tennis is a little bit rowdier, but it still is tennis. So there is an etiquette that has to be, or an etiquette or decor that must be maintained. But
whatever.
yeah.
You don't have to treat it like the Masters, but you still got to be like some sort of calmness.
Sure.
That's right.
But it's just it's great for the sport. Like, you know, like come on, like
throw the game, right?
Like you're cutting off near your nose to spite your face. Like, you know, like listen, but you know. But yeah.
Any last thoughts? Anyone have anything before we call it a night?
Not really. Just at the end of the day, just listen. Just it's a lot of stuff to talk about right now. Obviously, because we're still here chatting and probably gonna talk some more. A lot going on.
Yeah. We're starting to wind down the athletic season, but there's still plenty to be played for. Yeah. So before we wrap, I have one thought, and it's kind of a somber one. Cal Parker, who's part of the Pack Homer podcast, really good guy. He unfortunately lost his father a couple days ago, and so just want to shoot my condolences over to them and the family. They're a bunch of great guys that do a really nice job covering baseball, a sport, you know, that I love dearly, and so I just wanted to let Cal and his family know that we're thinking of him, and just an unfortunate situation with his dad, but we're praying for you, buddy, and hopefully you have better days ahead. But all right, well, that'll wrap us for this week's edition. Appreciate everyone tuning in wherever you tuned in from, whether that was here on the live stream or you catch us on the replay on one of the platforms that's out there. And if you could just do us a favor, wherever you're catching us from, just give us a nice little rating if you're enjoying the show. And then just make sure, no, we're not talking about that. For anyone that's listening, someone preacher man just throw up NHL playoffs, go Canes, and that's just not going to fly here. But anyway, so again, really appreciate you guys tuning in and appreciate all the support you give us over here at Tuffy Talk. And we do this for you and the fans. And we're signing off, and we'll do it again here next week. So as always, NC State, Wolfpack Nation, go Pack.